My parents neglected me for years and told me to be grateful. So, when they came begging for help, I shut the door on their face. I'm 28, M. And for as long as I can remember, my parents have acted like they deserved a medal for providing me with the absolute bare minimum. A roof over my head, that was a gift. Clothes on my back, a privilege. Food on the table, when they remembered to buy groceries, something I should be eternally grateful for. And before anyone assumes, no, we weren't struggling. My dad worked in finance and my mom ran a small business that did pretty damn well. It wasn't a we don't have money situation. It was a we don't care enough to spend it on you situation. I wasn't a child to them. I was more like a long-term house guest they wish they could kick out but were legally stuck with. My childhood was basically a masterclass in neglect. At 6 years old, I was coming home to an empty house because my parents didn't want to pay for after-school care. By 10, I was wearing hand-me-downs from my mom's friends' kids while my dad was out buying himself another Rolex. At 13, I was doing odd jobs just to buy my own school supplies. And every time I asked for help, I got hit with, figure it out. It was never their problem. I remember sitting in class one day, listening to my friends talk about how their parents helped them with homework, cooked their favorite meals, or took them to the movies on weekends. I couldn't relate. If I got a bad grade, my fault. If I needed new clothes, my problem. If I didn't have lunch, I should have planned better. But anytime I even hinted at how unfair it was, I'd get the same response. You should be grateful. We put a roof over your head, didn't we? And I believed them. For years, I thought maybe I was ungrateful. Maybe expecting love and support was too much. Then I moved out, and I realized just how bad it had been. At 18, I left for college with nothing. No financial help, no emotional support, nothing. I worked my ass off, scholarships, part-time jobs, side gigs, just to survive. And you know what? I did it. I graduated, got a solid job, and built a life for myself that had nothing to do with them. For a while, I went low contact. Not because I was angry, I was, but because I just didn't see the point. What was I supposed to talk to them about? The parents who never showed up to a school event? The people who didn't even know what my major was until graduation day? But guess what happened the second I got my own place, a stable career, and a decent income? Yeah, they started reaching out. The first time they texted me, I actually thought they might be trying to reconnect. Mom, hey sweetheart, how have you been? Good. Mom, that's great. We should come over for dinner. Okay, sure. Weird, but okay. They came over, looked around my apartment, and immediately started acting like they owned the place. Mom, wow, this is nice. I could definitely see myself staying here for a while. Dad, you have a guest room, right? I laughed because I thought they were joking. They weren't. They straight up expected me to let them stay whenever they wanted. No asking, no discussion, just a casual assumption that, of course, their son, who they barely acknowledged for years, would be totally fine with them moving in whenever they felt like it. Yeah, that was a hard no. I shut it down immediately. And they did not like that. You should be grateful, my mom said, crossing her arms. For what? I shot back. For raising myself? For learning how to take care of myself because you couldn't be bothered? She scoffed. We put a roof over your head, didn't we? Oh. There it was. That line. The same damn line they had used my entire life. And something inside me just snapped. You didn't raise me, I said. You housed me. The room went dead silent. My dad's face turned red. My mom looked like she'd been slapped. I kept going. You didn't teach me anything. You didn't support me. You barely even parented. You treated me like I was some distant relative you were forced to take in. And now what? Now that I'm actually doing well, you suddenly care? They had nothing to say. So I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. You should be grateful, I said, looking right at them. Because I'm giving you the chance to leave before I really start telling you what I think. My mom's mouth fell open. You're kicking us out? Yep, my dad scoffed. Unbelievable, I shrugged. Figure it out. And then I shut the door in their faces. That was 2 months ago. Since then, I've officially been labeled the selfish son. Apparently, my parents are telling everyone that I abandoned them and that I'm ungrateful after everything they did for me. Some relatives have reached out trying to guilt me. They're still your parents, they say. They made sacrifices for you. No, they didn't. They did the bare minimum and expected a lifetime of loyalty in return. And you know what? I don't owe them a damn thing. It's been a couple of months since I showed my parents the door, and apparently they've been telling everyone that I'm some selfish, ungrateful monster who kicked out his own parents after everything they did for him. Of course, they leave out the part where they barely raised me and only reached out when they realized I had something they could use. At first, I ignored it, let them talk. It's not like they suddenly became self-aware overnight. But then the guilt tripping started. One morning, I got a text from my Aunt Linda. "Hey, kiddo, your mom told me what happened. She's really hurt. You know they love you, right?" I stared at my phone for a second and just laughed. Because of course, my mother would go running to the extended family to spin some sob story about how her cruel son abandoned her. I replied, "Did she also tell you that they neglected me for most of my life? That I had to work odd jobs as a teenager just to buy my own school supplies? That they expected to live in my house without even asking me?" Aunt Linda took a few minutes to respond. Then, "I get that they weren't perfect, but they're still your parents. Maybe this is a chance to reconnect?" Ah, there it was. The classic, "they're still your parents" argument. I typed back, "They had 18 years to connect with me. They made it pretty clear where I stood." She left me on read after that. A few weeks later, my dad actually called me. Not a text, a call. Which was weird because my dad has never been the let's talk it out type. I picked up out of curiosity. Right away, his voice was stern. Not angry, not emotional, just that same authoritative tone he always used when he thought he was right and I was wrong. "I think we should talk." I exhaled. "About what?" "About how you treated your mother." I actually laughed. Full on, out loud laughed. "Oh, this is rich. You mean the same woman who treated me like an afterthought for most of my life?" My dad barely missed a beat. "You're being dramatic." Ah, there it was. The gaslighting special. Because expecting basic parental support, so dramatic. "Right?" I said. "So let me guess. This isn't about apologizing. It's about me falling in line, pretending nothing happened, and letting you two into my life now that it's convenient for you. We just want to move forward." "Why now?" "Because you're our son." That was it. That was the whole explanation. No self-awareness, no acknowledgement of the past. Just a blanket statement meant to override everything they did. I let the silence drag out before replying. "I was your son when you ignored me, when you acted like I was a burden. You didn't care about having a relationship with me then." My dad sighed, like he was tired of the conversation. "Look, we don't have to go over the past. The point is, we're family." I felt rage bubble up in my chest. The past? The past? The entire reason we were having this conversation was because of the past. "Oh, now we're family? Funny, I don't remember you using that word when I needed help growing up." My dad stayed quiet for a second. Then, his voice dropped into that warning tone he always used when I was a kid. "You need to let this go. We did our best." I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. "No, you did the bare minimum, and now you're mad because I won't reward you for it." There was a long pause. Then, finally, he scoffed. "You'll regret this one day." I rolled my eyes. "Yeah, guess we'll see." Then I hung up. Since that call, my parents have doubled down on their victim act. The family group chat has been blowing up with passive-aggressive messages about family loyalty and forgiveness. Apparently, I'm supposed to overlook the years of neglect because they didn't literally throw me into the street. But here's the thing. I don't owe them anything. Not a conversation, not a relationship, nothing. And the fact that they only care now, when they have something to gain, just proves I made the right decision. It's been a few weeks since my dad called me to talk, and let's just say my parents did not take the rejection well. At first, they stuck with their usual tactics, playing the victim, guilt-tripping, and acting like I had personally betrayed them by setting boundaries. When that didn't work, they escalated. Because if emotional manipulation doesn't work, why not try a full-blown family smear campaign? It started with Aunt Linda. One evening, I got a random call from her. Now, I love my Aunt Linda, but I also know she's one of those people who hates conflict. She's the, "why can't we all just get along" type, which meant there was only one reason she was calling me now. I picked up, and sure enough, she went right into it. "Hey, kiddo, how are you doing?" I sighed, already knowing where this was going. "I'm fine, Aunt Linda." "What's up?" "Oh, I was just thinking about you. Your mom called me the other day, and she was just heartbroken. She really misses you." Ah, there it is. I leaned back in my chair. Right. And did she also tell you why we aren't talking? A pause. Well, she said, there was a misunderstanding. I actually laughed. A misunderstanding? Yeah, no. She and my dad neglected me for years, and now they're mad that I won't let them pretend we have a great relationship just because it's convenient for them. Aunt Linda sighed. I know things weren't perfect, but they're your parents. Maybe this is a chance to reconnect. They had 18 years to connect with me. They made it pretty clear where I stood. She hesitated. I just think family is important. So do I. That's why I'm choosing not to keep toxic people in my life. She went quiet for a few seconds, then muttered something about hoping I'd come around before hanging up. Yeah, not happening. A few days later, my cousin texted me, Dude, you need to check Facebook. Now, I barely use Facebook, but the moment I saw that text, I knew exactly what I was about to find. Sure enough, my mom had posted a long, dramatic rant about how parenting is a thankless job and how some children forget the sacrifices their parents made. And the best part? One day, they'll understand. But by then, it might be too late. Real subtle, Mom. The comments were exactly what you'd expect. Stay strong, Mama. Kids these days don't appreciate anything. They'll come back when they realize how much you did for them. I debated responding, just for the chaos of it. Maybe something like, Glad you found time to post this. Remember that time I had to buy my own school supplies because you and Dad forgot? But I didn't. Because honestly, I don't owe them an explanation. Let them play the victims. Let them cry to their Facebook friends. At the end of the day, they're the ones who lost something, not me. Then, the final boss entered the ring, my dad. He showed up at my apartment, unannounced. I had just gotten home from work, kicked off my shoes, and was about to sit down when I heard the knock. I looked through the peephole, and there he was, standing there like he had every right to be on my doorstep. I took a deep breath and opened the door, but only halfway. We need to talk, he said, already sounding irritated. I raised an eyebrow. Not really, no. Enough of this, he said, stepping forward like he was about to push his way in. Your mother is devastated. You're being ridiculous. I planted my feet and kept my hand on the door. Am I? Because last I checked, I wasn't the one who ignored my kid for 18 years and then expected to be treated like a loving parent when it was convenient. He exhaled sharply, already annoyed. Jesus, you're still holding on to that? You need to let this go. Oh, there it is. I actually laughed at that. Let it go. Move on. Pretend none of it happened. That's always the answer, isn't it? We just want to move forward, he said, like this was some kind of business transaction. I leaned against the doorframe. Why now? Because you're our son. I rolled my eyes. I was your son when you ignored me, when you acted like I was a burden. You didn't care about having a relationship with me then. My dad sighed, like he was so done with the conversation, like I was the one being difficult. Look, we don't have to go over the past. The point is, we're family. I felt rage bubble up in my chest. Oh, now we're family? I said. Where was that attitude when I needed help with school? When I had to buy my own groceries? When I was sitting alone at home for hours as a kid because neither of you cared enough to be around? Silence. He shifted his weight, avoiding my eyes. And that's when I decided to spell it out for him. Tell me something, Dad. If I was struggling right now, if I was broke, jobless, and needed help, would you be here? His mouth open like he had an answer ready. But then, nothing. Because we both knew the truth. He wouldn't be here. If I was struggling, they wouldn't care. They wouldn't be calling. They wouldn't be showing up at my door. They only wanted a relationship now because I was doing better than them. That realization hit him. I saw it in his face, the way his jaw tightened, the way his hands clenched at his sides. He knew I was right, but he was too proud to admit it. Instead, he scoffed. You'll regret this one day. I smiled. I really don't think I will. Then I shut the door in his face. That was a week ago. Since then, I've heard from a few more relatives. Some trying to guilt trip me, some pretending to be neutral but clearly fishing for drama. I've ignored them all. Because at the end of the day, my parents aren't mad that I cut them off. They're mad that I don't need them. And that's something they will never, ever be able to accept. It's been a few months since my dad showed up at my apartment, and in that time, my parents have officially gone nuclear. The Facebook posts? Still going. The guilt tripping from relatives? Still happening. The dramatic retelling of how their ungrateful son abandoned them? Now with bonus exaggerations. But guess what? I don't care. because for the first time in my life, I have peace. No more random calls demanding my time, no more manipulation disguised as concern, no more being treated like a walking ATM, and I have never been happier. Of course, my parents couldn't just let things be. At first, they tried damage control. They started reaching out through different family members, hoping someone would wear me down. They started reaching out through different. Aunt Linda, my mom's favorite messenger, called me again. Honey, your mom is heartbroken. She's really struggling with this. I put my phone on speaker while making dinner. What exactly is she struggling with? Well, she just wants her son back. I smirked. No, she wants access. Big difference. Aunt Linda sighed. I know they weren't perfect, but they weren't parents either. Silence. She must have realized I wasn't budging because she quickly changed the subject. Family is important. If something ever happened to them, would you really want this to be the last thing between you? Ah, there it was, the classic what if they die guilt trip. I took a sip of my drink. If something happens, that would be unfortunate, but that's on them, not me. She didn't like that answer. You're being stubborn, and you're wasting your time. I hung up. After that, the pity act stopped, and the anger kicked in. One morning, I woke up to dozes of missed calls. Guess who? Yup, my dad. I ignored them at first, but the texts kept coming. Dad, call me now. Dad, I'm not playing games. Dad, answer your damn phone. I finally responded, what do you want? 2 seconds later, my phone rang. I debated ignoring it again, but I was curious. I picked up. What? Are you happy? He snapped. Are you proud of yourself? I blinked. Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Your mother is crying her eyes out because of you. Okay, and? He exploded. You have no respect. We gave you everything. I actually had to laugh. Everything? Really? Then why was I working odd jobs at 14 just to afford my own clothes? That was to teach you responsibility? Bullshit. That was because you and Mom didn't care enough to provide for me. You're unbelievable. And you're delusional. But hey, at least we're both consistent. He went quiet for a second, then let out a bitter laugh. You know what? Fine. You want to act like we're dead to you? Don't come crawling back when you realize what a mistake you've made. I smirked. Crawling back? From what? My successful, happy, drama-free life? You'll regret this one day. Nah, I really won't. Then I hung up. And just like that, I was done. After that call, my parents finally got the message. They stopped trying to reach me directly. Instead, they doubled down on playing the victims to anyone who would listen. My mom is still milking this for sympathy points on Facebook. According to her, I've cut them off over a minor disagreement and refused to let go of the past. My dad, meanwhile, is telling people I'm brainwashed by the internet. No joke, an uncle told me that. But the best part? They're now struggling financially. Apparently my dad made some bad investments and now they're going through a rough patch. And since they always assumed they could fall back on me, they never actually planned for retirement. Oops. Guess they should have thought of that before they treated me like a burden for 18 years, because I am not their backup plan. A lot of people will say, but they're your parents. Yeah, and? Being a parent is more than giving birth and providing shelter. It's about love, support, and actual effort. They failed at that. They failed at being parents. And now they're dealing with the consequences. So, do I regret cutting them off? Not for a single second. My life is better without them. And that's something they will never, ever be able to accept.